Low life, trashy, puss gut son of a bitch, excuse my language.
You had to get in the water today.
Why?
Damn, mosquitoes in here bad, and them women police give me some...
New information is coming out about one of reality TV's most mysterious disappearances. Shelby Stanga, better known as the Swamp Man, once ruled the History Channel with his wild energy, unpredictable behavior, and his trusty chainsaw that never left his side. Then, suddenly, he was gone. No final episode, no announcement, no social media post, just silence. Fans were left wondering what really happened behind the cameras. Some said it was burnout, others mentioned conflict with producers, an arrest, and the fact that Shelby was never meant for Hollywood fame. Locals whispered that he simply went back to where he belonged, the Louisiana swamps. Before fame, Shelby lived far from attention. Tonight, we uncover the rise, retreat, and hidden reality of the man the swamp still calls its king. Long before TV crews ever found him, Shelby Stanga was already shaped by one of America's toughest environments, the swamp forests of southern Louisiana. Born around 1960, he grew up where frogs sang louder than radios and paved roads were a luxury. His family lived so deep in the wetlands that storms shook their house and black swamp water sometimes pooled by the door. While most kids went to school, Shelby learned from the wild. His mother, protective and wary of outside influence, refused to send him to public school. She feared city values and modern ideas. Instead, she taught him to read old hand-me-down books by lantern light. The swamp became his classroom. His lessons weren't written on paper, they were written in scars and survival. By 8 years old, he could row through flooded trees on his own. By 10, he could recognize poisonous snakes by a single movement. By 13, he was pulling heavy sunken logs out of the mud, work most grown men avoided. Neighbors told stories about the strange boy who vanished into the woods at sunrise and returned smelling like gasoline and moss. Some said they saw him dragging logs the size of cars with nothing but rope and raw strength. Others swore he talked to his chainsaw like it was alive. Truth and legend mixed freely around Shelby. Without classmates or crowds, he made up his own slang and developed a thick swamp accent that outsiders couldn't always understand. He didn't care about fitting in. What mattered to him was listening, to the wind, to the silence before a storm, to the stillness that meant danger was near. His childhood wasn't lonely, it was training. And when TV finally found him decades later, the cameras didn't capture a character. They captured a man built by storms, mud, and survival. Before television entered the picture, Shelby was already a legend in the Louisiana bayous. Fishermen, boat mechanics, and timber workers all had stories about him. One said Shelby dragged a half-sunken log through knee-deep mud, laughing the entire time. Another claimed he dove for hours into murky waters to recover logs older than the Civil War. Outsiders called them tall tales. Locals just smiled and said, "That's Shelby." By the late 2000s, word of this wild, fearless man reached TV producers searching for real characters for the History Channel's Axemen. They arrived expecting to meet dozens of potential cast members. Instead, they met one man they couldn't look away from. Shelby didn't perform. He lived. When asked to repeat a line, he simply ignored them. The producers didn't direct him, they followed him. When his first episode aired in 2009, everything changed. Viewers couldn't look away. Shelby didn't just cut wood, he fought the swamp like it was a living rival. He yelled at trees, laughed in the face of danger, and dove into mud without hesitation. To him, fear was just another noise the swamp made. For an audience tired of fake, scripted shows, Shelby was pure oxygen. Clips of him went viral. Fans replayed his wildest moments, his strange swamp slang, his booming laugh, his fearless dives into dark water. Late-night shows joked that he spoke alligator language. Memes spread, merchandise appeared, and the ratings exploded. The network saw what they had, lightning in a bottle. They built an entire show around him, the legend of Shelby, the Swamp Man. For the first time, viewers weren't watching an actor or a role. They were watching real life, raw and unfiltered. Shelby didn't care about fame. He just did what he always did, live by the swamp's rules. But the entertainment industry wasn't ready for someone they couldn't control. As Shelby's fame grew, the History Channel thought they had found gold. Millions tuned in every week, not to see trees fall, but to see the man who refused to follow scripts. Soon, camera crews followed him everywhere, through swamps, boat docks, and even parking lots. Fans wanted more, and producers answered by filming everything. That's when Shelby felt pressure for the first time in his life. He was used to listening to storms, not directors. He tried to play along, signing contracts and letting cameras follow him. But as the attention grew, something inside him began to shift. Crew members whispered that he didn't like being told what to do. Even small requests, like hold that pose or say that line again, made him angry. Back home, he started avoiding familiar places. He didn't want to be recognized or treated like a spectacle. The swamp that once gave him peace was turning into a stage. The producers pushed harder, wanting bigger laughs and crazier moments. They wanted the Swamp Man, not Shelby the human, but Shelby couldn't fake himself. The more they tried to direct him, the more the swamp rebelled through him. Fans began to notice the change too. The loud laughter was fading. His grin looked forced. He seemed distracted, distant. In later episodes, he paused mid-sentence, staring off like he was somewhere else. Editors tried to hide it, cutting away those quiet moments, but longtime fans could see it. The Swamp Man was tired. Then, the outside world started closing in. Fans recognized him in grocery stores and gas stations. They wanted selfies, autographs, and the famous laugh. Some treated him like a cartoon character instead of a man. Everyday conversations turned into performances. Shelby began disappearing between shoots, sometimes walking off during filming for hours with no warning. When he returned, covered in mud and smiling, the crew was frustrated. He'd cost them thousands of dollars, but he didn't care. He just needed space to breathe. Behind the scenes, cracks were forming. Fame wasn't fun anymore. It was a cage. The swamp, once silent and peaceful, now echoed with shouts, cameras, and deadlines. And then came the first real sign of collapse. Shelby stopped laughing. Soon after, police reports surfaced. Shelby had entered a neighbor's property during a dispute, allegedly with a chainsaw in hand. It was shocking. The same man who fought gators now fighting people. Fans were stunned. Comment sections exploded, but locals quietly said they weren't surprised. Tension had been building for months. They'd watched the swamp fill with tourists looking for the Swamp Man. His home had turned into a zoo, and he was the main attraction. Crew members said he started snapping on set. Directors claimed he stormed off without warning. Assistants described mood swings. What once looked like wild charm now seemed like exhaustion and stress. Rumors grew that he wanted more pay, that he hated how the show edited him, that he was tired of being turned into a joke. Fans noticed the change too. The smile was gone, the light in his eyes fading. He spoke less. The chaos that made him famous was replaced by silence. Then, one day, he vanished. Not into the swamp, but from television itself. No farewell episode, no statement, no goodbye, just gone. After the 2014 incident, fans waited for answers. They expected a comeback, a statement, something, but Shelby didn't return. The next season aired without his name, without a farewell, without even a mention. It was as if the producers erased him completely. Viewers flooded social media, asking where he'd gone. There were no replies, just silence. Rumors spread fast. Some said he refused to renew his contract unless he was paid fairly. Others believed he was tired of being turned into a joke. A few insiders whispered that he was simply burned out, mentally and physically. Off camera, the man who had once laughed through storms was growing quiet. Locals, though, weren't surprised. They said he had returned home to Ponchatoula, Louisiana, like nothing had happened. They saw him repairing boats, dragging logs, and talking with neighbors. He was often seen with his wife, Donna, the woman who, they said, helped him step away from the spotlight before it destroyed him. Fans eventually caught blurry phone videos, Shelby pumping gas, buying supplies, hauling wood through the mud. He didn't look broken or angry. He just looked free. To the rest of the world, he had vanished. But to the swamp, he had simply come home. As time passed, more pieces of the story came together. Former crew members hinted that Shelby hadn't quit because of fame itself. He quit because fame clashed with who he was. The man who grew up alone in the wetlands suddenly had microphones in his face, cameras at every angle, and people telling him what to do. Producers labeled him unpredictable, but fans called him real. Behind the scenes, whispers said Shelby had developed anxiety. Not the Hollywood type filled with headlines and scandals, the quiet kind that makes you avoid crowds and ignore your phone. He started turning down interviews, ignoring calls, and staying away from stores. To a man raised off the grid, the constant attention must have felt like a cage. Friends said the arrest wasn't his downfall, it was his warning sign. The swamp man had hit his limit. Fame was bending him, reshaping him into something he didn't recognize. Being edited into a clown when all he'd done was live honestly felt like betrayal. Experts say this happens often in reality TV. The cameras feed off real people, but when the lights turn off, the pressure remains. Many fall apart quietly, unseen. Through it all, one thing kept Shelby grounded: Donna. Locals say she was the reason he found peace again. She kept him human, a neighbor once said. She reminded him that being loved by millions means nothing if you can't recognize yourself anymore. Producers wanted more drama. Fans wanted wilder moments. But Shelby was done performing. He hated scripts. He hated retakes. And when the world tried to shape him, he did what the swamp had taught him to do: disappear. Now, when people spot him at a gas station or hardware store, they notice something new. Peace. No spotlight. No crew. Just Shelby. Quiet. Smiling. Alive. He didn't vanish because he failed. He vanished because he won. Even though he left television, something strange happened. His fame didn't fade. It grew. Years later, clips of his wildest moments started flooding YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook. Fans who never watched Axemen before were discovering him for the first time. They laughed, they quoted him, and they called him what he had become: a legend. To young fans, he wasn't just a TV personality. He was proof that being yourself still mattered in a fake world. People joked that if the world ended, Shelby would be the first to rebuild society, catching fish, cutting wood, fixing everything from scrap metal. Beneath the memes and jokes, there was real admiration. Shelby reminded people of something raw and forgotten: freedom. He lived outside the system. He didn't chase fame, and he didn't play by the rules. If the cameras caught something interesting, fine. If not, he wasn't going to redo it. That stubborn confidence made him authentic. It made him human. While most reality stars chased attention with perfect hair and rehearsed lines, Shelby showed up covered in mud, wearing torn shirts, holding a chainsaw that looked older than the camera crew. He didn't care about image. That was his power. His influence didn't stop with television. Outdoor networks studied his episodes to understand why viewers loved him. Content creators analyzed his unpredictability and realized something: authenticity beats fake drama every single time. Even the small town of Ponchatoula changed. Tourists came, hoping to see where the swamp man lived. Swamp culture became trendy, but Shelby stayed away from all of it. He never opened a gift shop or gave tours. He just kept working in the mud, out of sight. Years later, his mystery remains. Fans still ask the same questions. Why did he leave? Did fame break him? Did he simply get tired of the world? Every few months, new clips appear online of Shelby fixing an engine, laughing with neighbors, covered in swamp muck from head to toe. Each one proves the same thing: the swamp man didn't disappear. He just stepped out of our world and back into his. In a society obsessed with being seen, Shelby chose invisibility. Locals say he still wakes early to drag logs from the water. He still repairs old boats, still jokes with fishermen, still curses at broken chainsaws. But when someone raises a phone to record him, he slips into the trees like mist. He doesn't hate fame, he just doesn't need it. To him, Silence isn't mysterious, it's home. Cameras once turned his sanctuary into a circus. Tourists flooded his swamp, chasing selfies instead of peace. Eventually, Shelby realized he had only one way to protect his world: vanish. Not with drama, not with statements, just quietly walk away. He didn't write a goodbye post. He didn't sell merchandise. He simply stopped playing the role everyone wanted him to play. Now, locals smile when asked about him. They say he still laughs when his chainsaw jams. He still hauls wood with the same old ropes. And when the sun sets, he still disappears into the swamp, right where he belongs. Shelby Stanga didn't fade. He retreated into freedom. When people remember him now, they don't think of fame or TV. They think of something rarer, a man who lived life on his own terms. In a world desperate for attention, his greatest act wasn't becoming famous. It was walking away from fame before it consumed him. His story has become legend, part truth, part myth. Like the swamp stories told around campfires, some say they saw him haul a log the size of a truck with just a rope. Others swear he once rode out a hurricane in an abandoned fishing shack. Maybe it's true, maybe it doesn't matter. What matters is the feeling he left behind. Raw, unfiltered, honest. Television has moved on, chasing louder stars and flashier gimmicks. But none have captured what Shelby had, that lightning-in-a-bottle authenticity that no script can create. Clips of him still surface every day, reaching new generations who can't believe someone like that ever existed. And when they find out he still does quietly, somewhere in Ponchatoula, the legend grows stronger. He never said goodbye because he didn't need to. His exit said it all. Cameras off, chainsaw on, swamp ahead. So, if you ever find yourself driving along the muggy Louisiana back roads and hear laughter mixed with the roar of a chainsaw, don't be afraid. Somewhere out there, Shelby "Swamp Man" Stanga is still working, not for fame, not for cameras, not for us, just because that's who he's always been.